Welcome to episode 85 of Drew's Sports Crew here on a Sunday afternoon slash evening. Yes, an earlier time here. I've been bringing these episodes to you on like Monday morning, afternoonish times, and now we're transitioning here. Worked out in the schedule. It was like, let's talk about it after that dreadful Packer game. Let's talk about some sports, and we'll talk about some better results, better outcomes for sports, such as the high school football playoffs in the Eastern Wisconsin Conference. The Milwaukee Bucks, they're 2-0, scorching red hot start here for them. And then also we'll talk sadly about that Green Bay Packer defeat that puts them under 500. Yes, it's the first time in the Matt LaFleur era losing three or more. It was the first time in two or more. So therefore, obviously, you'll get the three or more there. But look, myself, Drew Skyberg here. Happy to break it all down for you. But first, we got to go through the usual announcements, social media at Drew Sports Crew on the Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. You know the drill. And also, yeah, I think Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, got them there. And then YouTube, Drew's Sports Crew is where you'll find that with the Facebook as well. Also Twitch, Twitch at Drew Sports Crew. Got to be shouting that out as well. Medium, Drew Sports Crew. It's all in the link tree is where you'll find that. So link tree, which is Drew_sports_crew. Again, that's down below. So you can find all other platforms on that. Live stream days. We got to talk about what days you will be able to catch some of the episodes on Drew's Sports Crew. Well, tomorrow night, I'll tell you, you can find Drew's Basketball Crew here, episode 2. Yes, that will be a weekly series throughout the NBA season. Looking forward to that. Hopefully, we'll have some guests on along the way. Certainly, Jared from Journey to Million, I can guarantee an appearance for him sometime. Just not sure when, but you can catch that again tomorrow night. It's been around that 8:30, 9 o'clock-ish p.m., kind of live stream. It's 10 to 20 minutes. So I'd expect around there will be that. And then also Tuesday, we don't have a show. I meant Wednesday. Sorry about that. Wednesday, you can catch, of course, Journey to Million, myself, Drew Skyberg, joined alongside Zach Roush and Jared Valesky. There you'll find us Wednesday around 6 o'clock is how we've been doing it. 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. is where you'll find that. But that kind of wraps up the announcements other than the hats. Yes, you see the hat right here. An embroidered hat, Drew Sports Crew, $15 is the price for the hats. We also have Journey to Million one. It's there in the back. You see it there, Journey to Million, embroidered as well. Go check those out, $15. Contact at Drew Sports Crew for more info. Let's roll now into the world of sports. Want to keep the intro brief here on this Sunday afternoon, evening. Here we go. We're going to go right to the Eastern Wisconsin Conference. We're going to talk about the road to Randall, is what they say. So basically, we're talking about the playoffs, how it fared for some teams. We'll talk about just how level one went for some squads. Let's first get it. I believe we're calling an exhibition game out of the way. We're going to talk about Roncalli, Green Bay West, right? We talked about this game last week. Wasn't really sure what to call it. I decided I'm going to call it an exhibition game, to end the regular season, or just an extra non-con game. But what happened was we talked about how that Green Bay West team has been struggling this year, and to an extent, right, the Roncalli Jets have been as well. So going through that game, again, at Green Bay West, Roncalli, they get the job done. They end their season with a victory. 40-13 was the final. The Jets blow out Green Bay West there. I do not have stats, unfortunately. So looking at it, I can tell you Roncalli jumped out to a 14-0 lead, end of one, and then they tacked on 2 more touchdowns in the second, but Green Bay West gets their first touchdown there, so it was 27-7 at half. Then Roncalli, they get a touchdown in the third quarter, and then they get another one in the fourth with Green Bay West. They also get one as well, so then that equates to a 40-13 final. Again, Roncalli gets a win there. Their second win of the year, and they end 2-8 overall. Let's go now to the playoff games. Let's go to level one. Let's talk about how those games fared for all the squads that participated in the playoffs. We're starting then with Kettle Moraine, Lutheran, and Two Rivers. Yes, the highest seeded EWC team we'll start with. And we'll talk about how they performed. And let me tell you, they did not disappoint there against Kettle Moraine Lutheran. Again, this game was at Two Rivers in the first quarter. We had a 98-yard passing touchdown, Klinkner to Phillips. That got us started. And so, yeah, end of one. Two Rivers up 7-0. We go into the second quarter. We get Elijah Mott in on the action, a 51-yard passing touchdown there, Klinkner to Mott there. 14-0 Two Rivers. And then Phillips back to him, goes Klinkner to Phillips there. 25-yard receiving touchdown again for Phillips, second of the game. 20-0 was that halftime score. Then Chase Mathias gets in on the action. Two rushing touchdowns in the third quarter. 34-0 the score, end of three. Mathias gets another rushing touchdown in the fourth. 41-0. And then Damian Gretz gets a rushing touchdown. 48-0. That ends up being your final. No stats for Kettle Moraine Lutheran. But tell you, Justin Klinkner, 12 of 20, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 interception for Klinkner. On the ground, it was Chase Mathias, only running 9 times, but accumulating 151 yards. That is a 16.8 yards an attempt pace. 3 rushing touchdowns for him. Damian Gretz, 6 for 50 with a rushing touchdown as well. Austin Phillips, 3 for 130, 2 receiving touchdowns. Elijah Mott, 2 for 61 with a receiving touchdown. And then Mathias, 4 for 38 there on the receiving game. 2 interceptions there before Two Rivers' defense. Brady Richards getting 1, and then Xander Pop got the other 4 sacks for them as well. Christian Piles getting 2 of those sacks. Connor Sanford with 1. And then also Elijah Mott with a sack. So there you go. Two Rivers dominates in level 1. They move on to level 2. We'll talk about who they play after we go through the rest of the games here. So again, Two Rivers winning there. Let's go to Kewaskum High School, where we found KLC, the Blue Bombers, and Kewaskum squaring off. And it was all Kewaskum in this game. I'd say it was 21-6 at half, and it went 31-6 final for the Blue Bombers. Their season unfortunately comes to an end. Let's talk through the stats here right away, though. Max Breenbach, 14 of 26, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions for Breenbach. I do see here 5 attempts then for negative 67 yards for Breenbach. I don't know if that is just sacks. I'm not sure how those stats were compiled. Maybe he meant, or maybe the stats meant to be inputted as positive. I'm not sure what's going on there. 7 for 6, though, was Kakuzi for the rushing attack. Noah Heinen ends his season there, 9 for 51 for the receiving. Then Jalen Paul, 3 for 98 for him. Let's go to Kewaskum. The story was the ground game, I'd say mostly. It was a pretty balanced attack, but they only had 8 receptions as a team. But the ground game averaged 4.9 yards an attempt, and they had 44 rushing attempts. So, run heavy, but those passes ended up hurting them a lot with 2 passing touchdowns. But really what happened, it was a mix of runners. It was Ryan Cook, 13 of 82 with a touchdown, and then Dylan Steger, 11 for 68 with a touchdown. So again, Kewaskum gets the job done, 31-6. They're moving on to level 2 then. That's the story there. KLC, again, their season comes to a close. They finish 3-4 in conference, 3-7 overall. Let's go to Southern Door as we find the Brilliant Lions there against Southern Door again. AJ Dillon, fun fact, supposedly was in attendance of that game. That was from EWC's Robert Shimmick, right? He reached out, let me know. I'm glad I could share that with you all. So I wonder if any Brilliant Lion fans were able to meet AJ Dillon. That'd be pretty cool. But look, Southern Door, they took care of business here as the 1 seed. No stats on Brilliant side, so we'll keep the Southern Door talk quick here, but we will say this: it was 42-0 at half, and it was rushing touchdown, rushing touchdown, rushing touchdown, end of 1, 21-0, rushing touchdown, pick 6. So that will get you 42, and then they have a passing touchdown in the third, no score in the fourth. They only have to throw the ball 11 times. So what they did, 34 rushing attempts, 256 yards, 5 rushing touchdowns. It was really Zach Lynch and Jonas Jandren were the guys who were really able to dominate there. Jandren only, though, with 38 yards, but two touchdowns for him. Lynch was 14 of 155, 3 rushing touchdowns for him. Passing, not much there for Southern Door, but they had 2 sacks. They had 2 interceptions. Christian Conrad had both of the interceptions for Southern Door, and the 1 seed is moving on in blowout fashion, and that ends the season for the Brilliant Lions. They finish 3-4 in conference, 3-7 overall as well. Same record as KLC. So let's go to some victories for the EWC now, other than the Two Rivers one. Let's go to Clintonville, where Chilton had to travel on the road to surprise by some people, considering the season Chilton finished with competing with TR there. But Clintonville starts the game. They get a touchdown in the first quarter. They go up 6-0, and end of one. So Chilton needs an answer, and they give them an answer in the second quarter. It was Zach Halbach, a 9-yard rushing touchdown, 7-6. That extra point there with that ended up being the difference in this game. 7-6 at half, and the final ends up being 7-6. Chilton, it's technically an upset. I gotta say it's an upset. They upset Clintonville here at Clintonville. They move on to level 2. And what happened was Jared Gell was kind of the story, 21 of 129. That really got this offense jump started. Zach Halbach was 7 for 28 with that rushing touchdown. Max Miller only threw the ball 6 times in this ball game, but they were able to really stop the passing game for Clintonville. Cade Rosnow, 10 for 22 there with a touchdown, 2 interceptions for Rosnow as well. Then on the rushing side, it was Zach Spalding, 21 of 84, 4 yards per attempt, and then ends up being it for Clintonville. 1 for 10 was Colton Barco. He was the lone receiving touchdown again for the Clintonville team. And yeah, Clintonville's season comes to a close, but Chilton, they continue. They move on. Last game here, let's go to an upset in the EWC. I mean, for the EWC, let's say Kiel. I believe it was the 6 versus the 3 here. Wittenberg-Burnhamwood was the 3. And Kiel, in upset fashion, they get the job done. 16-6 was your final. And the game, it didn't start off too well for Kiel. Touchdown there for Wittenberg-Burnhamwood. They go up 6-0, but Kiel, Connor Faust gets the job done to Zorn. And we get a 65-yard touchdown there, 7-6 there up then. And then what happened was Connor Faust gets a rushing touchdown in the fourth quarter. And that they go 14-6. And you guessed it, a safety there for Kiel makes it 16-6. And that was your ball game there. The 10 minutes left or so, 9:59 was when they got that safety. Let's go into the numbers. How did Kiel pull off this upset? Well, let me tell you, they played great defense. I mean, it goes down to that. We don't have the defensive stats, but I can tell you that is what happened in this game. Connor Faust, 24-51 on the ground, 2.1 yards an attempt. They averaged as a team, they had 36 attempts on the ground, 89 yards only. That gives them 2.5 yards an attempt. Not good numbers. I mean, if you told me that, I would say they did not win this game. They probably lost this game. Also, on the receiving side, Faust was 4 for 8 with 90 passing yards, 1 touchdown. Again, numbers you would have been like, I don't think they won this game, but Harrison Zorn having that big play really was the difference in this game. On the offensive side, ended up being a receiving touchdown, 65 yards again. He finished 2 for 73 then. Braden April, 1 for 11. Trey Bartz, 1 for 6. Again, I unfortunately do not have the defensive stats, but I can tell you, Kiel gets the job done. They pull off the upset, 16-6. They are moving on to level 2 of the playoffs. And let's break down those games now. Let's talk about who is playing who, and let's go to it. So level 2, we got 3 teams moving on. Again, it was Two Rivers, Chilton, and Kiel. The top 3 schools in the conference based on record. So, there you go. I mean, as expected, right? The better schools should move on, and they did. Two Rivers plays Kewaskum at Kewaskum. They got to travel for level 2. Chilton's got to travel to number 1 Southern Door. That'll be a tough one. And then Kiel travels to Kewaunee. We saw that game, I believe, the start of this year, where Kewaunee ended up getting the job done. But let's go to the Two Rivers game first. Let's give you a little preview there. Two Rivers and Kewaskum squaring off. We talked a little bit about this Kewaskum team last week against KLC, considering they're 9-1, right? They're averaging 28 a game. And, they have pretty good squad, right? Ryan Cook was the guy we were talking about, over 1,300 passing yards. So expect a pass-heavy attack, and that is what I think we'll see. I do think Two Rivers can take care of this game. I do like them getting out of level 2 here in this game, on the road even as well. So we'll have to wait and see how this game goes for the Raiders. But again, liking their chances in this game. Let's go to Chilton and Southern Door. This is going to be probably Chilton's toughest game of the year. I'll say that. I think this Southern Door squad has so much talent. We talked about this last week, right? They have a passing yard. They have their quarterback, Drew Doust, over 1,000 passing yards, and then they have a rusher with over 1,000 rushing yards. I'm just saying, this is going to be a balanced attack. This is going to be a very good attack, and we have seen what Southern Door has done so far this year, 10-0, averaging 34 a game. They go 49-0 over Brilliant. So worried about this game here for Chilton, but again, we saw this Chilton team. They were up against arguably the best, right? One of the best teams in D4, right, against in Two Rivers in terms of how they performed, a ranked squad in D4, I should say. And they've held their own. They put up a fantastic fight. They ended up not getting the job done, but look, this Chilton squad has proven that they can face some adversity and they can handle it. And I think with that, maybe we can see Chilton surprise Southern Door here in an upset. So we're all rooting for Chilton, obviously. It's just we got to keep in mind Southern Door is a talented squad, and if they can, stop them defensively, right, with that really, just really good. I don't even know how to say it, right? Southern Door, they're so balanced, right? So you got to stop the passing and rushing attack for both on both sides of the ball there to win for Chilton, basically, I'd say. So that'll be a game that, again, rooting for Chilton. Hopefully they can get the job done. Let's go to the last game, Kiel Kewaunee. So yeah, Kiel and Kewaunee squaring off here. 9-1 is Kewaunee. And let's go to the right. We're going to go to week 1, where we saw Kiel lose to Kewaunee 28-21. So they lose to them by 7 at the start of the year. We know how this works. You cannot judge the common opponent game. We talked about this because it was possible to link Valders beating a school that the school they beat a school that Chilton lost to, if that makes sense. If we want to do the linking game, you cannot do the linking game in high school sports. And, it just doesn't work like that unless it's some kind of blowout, right? But that really does not work here. And that's why I want to emphasize, I don't care. Kewaunee won 71-6 last week. I'm not going to go trace to see how that fares for Kiel, because I think Kiel's got a good shot in this one. Again, Kewaunee finished second in the Packerland, but right behind Southern Door. So we're seeing the Packerland EWC square off here in that. And Kewaunee put up the most points in the Packerland. They averaged 36.5 a game. They got Mitchell Thompson, who passed for over 1,100 yards this year. And then they have a rushing attack of two guys who combined for over 1,200 yards. So you're going to see some talent on this Kewaunee Storm squad. So I'll tell you that. But I do think Kiel, if they play disciplined, if they play how they played against Burnham Wood, you can certainly expect Kiel to move on to level 3, a 6 seed moving on to level 3. If Kiel happens to do that, you got to credit Kiel on their performance. But we're rooting for all EWC squads, right? We got 3 games, 3 EWC teams left. We want to get more squads into level 3, right? We want to put EWC again on a map, as many teams have done so, right? Kiel in 2019, some other squads in football as well. Just that's what we want here for, of course, EWC football as well. And we're wishing the best. We're saying good luck to Two Rivers, Chilton, and Kiel as they all 3 travel on the road for level 2. So that is going to wrap it up for the EWC Sports Talk. We got to credit, of course, WisSports.net, WSN, for all the coverage here, all the insight, all the stats. That's the site I'm using here to tell you, the audience, this incredible information. Right, we're rooting for these EWC squads, and go check it out there. You can go check out the stats and standings for yourself. So let's go to the world of basketball. We're going to go to basketball, then we'll go to football. Sorry, don't want to talk about football right now. Sore subject with that, but let's talk about how the Milwaukee Bucks have fared so far this year. And it has gone very well, if you ask me. No Chris Middleton, no Pat Connaughton, no problem, is what I'd say. At Philadelphia, they get the job done. Wesley Matthews has the clutch shot of the year so far in 2 games. That go-ahead 3 with seconds remaining on the clock. That gets the job done in Philly. There, 90-88 was the final. Again, Giannis had 21, 13, and 8. He was the high for points, rebounds, and assists for the Milwaukee Bucks. So no surprise there, Giannis. In year 10, I believe, is still getting the job done. And let's go to the home opener Saturday night. You guessed it, Drew Skyberg. I was at that game in attendance to see a 125-105 blowout win over the Rockets. I mean, they were up 15-20 the whole game. Never got outside of that range. Love to see that. You also love to see Giannis put up 44 and 12 in that game. Holiday leading the Bucks in assists with 10. Giannis ends up actually passing. I believe Sidney Moncrief was the gentleman he passed to become the all-time free throw made leader in Milwaukee Bucks franchise history. So credit Giannis again for historic numbers, historic stats, and of course, becoming the Bucks franchise leader in almost every statistical category when he's done. So that is great to see. And again, the Bucks already 2-0 to start the year. And you got to credit how the depth has performed. And what I mean by that, guys like Brook Lopez, who again is a starter, but just guys we didn't have last year to start, to Bobby Portis, of course, got to credit. Javon Carter stepping in, getting some good minutes on the defensive end, especially. Also, Grayson Allen's played great so far this year. We talked Wesley Matthews having that big shot. You'll see that. That's going to be win you some games here. So wanted to touch on that, and let's talk about the games we have coming up for the Milwaukee Bucks. So we got 3 games coming up next week. They have rest now. Next time they go and square off is a Wednesday. But they play the Brooklyn Nets at home, who they lost to in the preseason at home, I believe, already. So keep that in mind. Wednesday, October 26th is that game, 6:30 p.m. tip on ESPN. You'll find them. And again, that's against Brooklyn. And then we have Friday. We have them playing the New York Knicks. They're at home. A Friday night game, 7 o'clock tip. I will be at that game. It is Sports Management Day for the Milwaukee Bucks, so I'll be in attendance at that event, and I will be, again, at that game. So hopefully I can share some insights about how that game fared. Hopefully the Bucks go 2-0 when I'm there. Would love to see that. But Saturday then, they play the Atlanta Hawks at home, is what I'm seeing. Is this right? Do they have all these home games? I'm sorry. I'm just looking at the schedule. Home game, home game, home game, home game, home game, home game, away, home. I guess that might be right, but we have some road stretches that I'm not looking forward to then. Yeah, we do. We got a stretch later in the year, away, 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 away. That's from Monday, December 19th to December 28th. You got 9, basically a 10-11 day road trip. Wow, okay. So we'll see that. We have the Detroit Pistons on a back-to-back coming up next week. I'll talk about that next week. So just want to focus on those 3 games. Brooklyn, New York, Atlanta, all 3 at home. I got the Bucks going 2-1. I think they either drop one to Brooklyn or Atlanta. I do like them against New York on Friday. So hopefully we can see 2-1 or 3-0. So we're always rooting for over 500 for a week at a time. But that is your update for the Milwaukee Bucks. Love what I'm seeing so far from Mike Budenholzer's squad. So let's go to the world of football to wrap up this episode. And you are going to hear some rants on Journey to a Million. Zach Roush and myself are already getting it started as Packer fans. You'll have to hear some of Jared's Colts rants as well due to quarterback play, coaching, etc. So get ready for that. But let's talk about this game. So, Packers lose their third in a row. I'll just say that. 23-21's the final, as everyone watched the game. They know. But if you're watching or if you weren't, we're gonna go through the scoring summary quickly and we'll go into box score. We'll talk about things I did not like, things I liked. Basically, that's how we'll do this. And we're not gonna probably talk much about next Sunday night in Buffalo. Probably more of a Journey to Million discussion, but I'd like to touch on that matchup briefly as well. So Aaron Jones gets the scoring started for the Green Bay Packers as we see a 4-yard touchdown pass again. Rodgers to Jones, 7-0. It was all fun. Everything was looking good, and then we do see Joey Slagging a 22-yard field goal, 7-3. Then was the score. Amari Rodgers back in punt return was just not good today. Unfortunately, with the fumble, we've seen 2 fumbles already this year. Just inexcusable is how many have stated how they feel, and I do agree. So let's go to the second quarter. We see a pick 6 from Heineke to Campbell. Devondre Campbell getting that pick 6. He returns it all 63 yards, 14-3 is your score. I'm like, all right, this is the game the Packers needed. Exactly what they needed. And then Antonio Gibson gets a 9-yard touchdown pass from Taylor Heineke. 14-10 is your score then at halftime. Feeling a little nervous. I was like, oh, this is a little closer for comfort, but hopefully the Packers can get that jolt in the second half that we needed. We haven't had that jolt all year, and we didn't get it. So what happened was we basically saw 20 points unanswered from the Commanders. And we saw in the third quarter, 37-yard touchdown pass, Heineke to McLaurin, with Sly then giving that kick. 17-14 was your score. Sly then getting a field goal, 20-14. Sly gets another field goal in the fourth, 6:40 remaining. And then we see Aaron Jones having an incredible catch from Rodgers, 21-23 then was your score. Packers get the ball left with like under a minute. It was like 30 seconds. And that was that. Had some lateral fun at the end of the game. Some trickery did not work. But let's go to the team stats. And let me tell you, the Packers did not deserve to win this game. As many watched can agree with me. But when you get, out like with the yardage, 364 yards to 232, Washington wins that battle by almost 140 yards. It ended up being 132 was the difference between total yards between both squads. Each had 1 turnover. First downs, Washington 22, Green Bay 16. Green Bay could not convert third downs today. They converted them near the end of the game, but does not equate for the other 3.5 quarters of the game where they were not converted. So the most alarming thing for me was time of possession. 37:07 was Washington's time of possession. 22:53 was the Packers. This is not something we see a lot of. This was embarrassing. That's really what I'd say. I was not happy with basically the performance in the second half, as many weren't, right? Why would you be? This offense, they talked about it making it more simplistic, a more simple offense for Rodgers' receivers and himself. And I don't know if I like the simple offense. It was not good. I'm just looking at the stats. It just, wow. The stats just make me shake my head because, watching the game, it felt like Jones was a lot more effective than he necessarily was. We saw 8 carries from Jones for 23 yards, and then the long was 8. But then we saw A.J. Dillon, 4 for 15. 12 for 38 was the rushing game. This ground game has been not impressive, and say what you want, the offensive line, it just has not been good. You also mentioned some scheme issues as well, but let's go to the receiving side. It was a pretty weird game. I like how Jones, I've been talking like Jones needs to get targeted more. He needs to get targeted more. He got targeted more. He got 10 targets in this game. Led the Packers. I like that. I'm fine with that. He got 9 receptions, 53 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. Lazard gets 7 targets, 6 for 55 was Lazard. That's fine. That's fine by me. But from here, it goes Sammy Watkins, 2 for 36. Robert Tonyan, 3 for 32. Amari Rogers, 2 for 14. Samori Torre, 1 for 4. Romeo Doubs, no receptions, 4 targets. Doubs is kind of what I want to mention. I mentioned how I liked how he was kind of being used in the offense. I mean, no, not today. I mean, with Doubs, even from a talent perspective, I do appreciate what Doubs brings to the table to a degree. I don't think he's this guy who many believe has a superstar potential, but I do respect what Doubs can bring to the table, and I just don't think he's sometimes that deep guy who he's been used as in past weeks. But in this instance, he had a tough day. I mean, he had some drops, made some tough plays, but yeah, I mean, not a good day for Doubs. I'd like to go more to Lazard and Jones, right? 15 receptions between both. Like, I'm fine with. I want those two to be my top two, right? Target leaders, right? You want those two to be in the offense. Then like Tonyan and Watkins sprinkled in. Watkins, really not much from today for him being active. You were like, yeah, Sammy Watkins. We know Bernie Van Hoovel was all over Sammy Watkins in the preseason. Not a good look right now, but yeah, AJ Dillon, no targets after he got targeted a lot in the past few weeks. So maybe the analytics department, maybe game plan, not targeting Dillon this week. And of course, it comes down to, just Rodgers' progressions right through the offense as well. But I want to point that out. Let's talk about how Rodgers finished. 23 of 35 was Rodgers' 2 passing touchdowns today. He played okay. He played fine. I'm not going to say it was Rodgers what held us back today. He played all right. But Brian Robinson on the side for the Commanders continues his impressive year so far. His great year there for Robinson. Awesome story. Awesome human being. Definitely going to, he should be eligible for comeback player of the year. That's what's frustrating. Rookies are not eligible for comeback player of the year, which I think needs to change because, look, Brian Robinson is that guy right now. 20 of 73 for him, 3.7 yards per attempt, and he looks like a superstar out there in the making. Gibson, 10 for 59. There, Gibson had a pretty good day, for being kind of like that second fiddle now to Robinson. J.D. McKissic not involved at all today, which was the story for me, looking. You would have thought McKissic would have gotten involved a little bit more. And then Curtis Samuel getting 5 carries. That was a little like, what's going on here? But just some interesting schemes done and formations by the Commanders. Terry McLaurin, 5 for 73 with a touchdown, 8 targets for him. Curtis Samuel also getting 8 targets for Washington. That's all we'll touch on. We'll talk about the fumbles. We talked about Amari Rogers having 2 fumbles, 1 lost. But otherwise, let's go to defense. Let's talk about it. And going on it, we'll talk, Quay Walker had a decent day. Campbell, of course, had that pick 6, decent day. Jair, he was on the side of, the plays that the Commanders made that were great for them. He was usually on the bad side of those. So interesting for Alexander. Still had some great plays, some tough hits, some, impressive hits, like one on Robinson that, many know of. That was very impressive. Rasul Douglas had a pretty good day. Stokes had a tough day. Stokes he has those 15-yard penalties. Has those dumb mistakes. I mean, 15-yarder unsportsmanlike. He'll get, illegal contact once in a while. He'll get a pass interference, of course. So I like to point those out where, those plays, although they might be just small things like that. I mean, those can be game changers. Felt like a little bit in this game, those made a difference. Of course, then Rashawn Gary leaving the game, concussion protocol, had 3 QB hits in his time. I mean, he was impressive. But otherwise, I want to go back to the offense before we wrap up the football talk here. I want to talk about how I think this offense needs to move moving forward. I mean, we'll talk more on Jerdy Million, of course, but I feel the offense is too horizontal right now. What I mean, they're operating a lot in the flats in shortage or yardage situations. Like what's going on? We were talking again, Jerry Million. We were chatting up a little bit. 3rd and long, you go to Jones in the flats. What's going on here? I mean, Zach pointed that out, like what's going on, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like, it's an interesting play call, and I was like, yeah, I feel like they're calling, first down plays on third down sometimes. Like, I love that play call first down. Jones in the flats, get him some blockers, but I get if they're trying to run a screen on a third and long, but nothing like a screen was that play. But at least get AJ Dillon. I don't expect his usage to be insane this year, but I expect it to be more than 4 carries for the talent, that we see out of Dillon. Like, I certainly would want more than that. He's certainly one of the best, our second fiddle running backs. You want to say backup, in all of football. So I certainly think he needs to be considered in that aspect. But again, on the receiving side, I don't know. I wasn't necessarily happy. I think you need to establish a number 3 as much as you don't want to, or as a Packers offense. I think there needs to be a number 3, a guy who can emerge as a target who Rodgers can go to. At times it's been Robert Tonyan. It really has. It's been that guy, that safety valve. It's been the tight end. But I feel like now with no Cobb, I mean, that guy's got to emerge. And is it Watkins? It didn't seem like it today. I mean, Amari Rodgers stepped in. I know with the fumbles, but it didn't seem like him either, right? I think you need to establish number 3. It seemed like it was going to be Dobbs. It was originally like Dobbs was kind of like Dobbs and Lazard were the 1-2. Then you saw like Tonyan in there. You saw Cobb, of course. But again, I know this is 1 week, but I'm just there are some questions that's like, how will this go moving forward? Because certain things need to change. I don't think this offense, they put up only 14 points. Keep in mind, 1 touchdown being defensive. They didn't play good enough to win. So what's going to change is what I'm asking. And I'm going to tell you things need to change because it does not get easier. And again, I'm worried about the offensive line next week, even more than this week, because Buffalo is the opponent, and it's, again, Sunday Night Football is what we're going to be seeing. So a little nervous about how the Packers are going to rebound from this disaster game. Minnesota's 5-1, keep in mind. Packers are 3-4. So yeah, the game, right? It's Sunday Night Football. It is on NBC, and they play the Bills. And we've seen what the Bills have done so far this year. They're 5-1 right now, and they've looked impressive. Their one lone loss coming to the Dolphins, 21-19. So yeah, I don't know. We were talking, the Bills are going to be heavily favored, it seems, in this game, and obviously, right? I mean, how the Packers have performed. Why would they be favored? But the Packers, I have a feel like this is just not good. Packers, it's a disaster. And right now, again, they're 3-4. Right. I was thinking, I'm like, okay, well, what do you think is a realistic output for them to finish the year with? Like, do you think they're going to finish? They're not going to finish that 13-win mark like many had predicted. I'm thinking more probably like a 10-7 year based on this, unless something changes, right? I mean, 10-7's, you're asking really them to go 7-4 down the stretch here, the last weeks. I don't know. Are we going to get that? Because right, they're 3-4 now. Right, play 17 games. I messed up my math there. They need a 7-3 down the stretch. I think I said 7-4. Yeah, 7-3 down the stretch. My apologies. Got to get my math right. There we go. So, I mean, you're asking them to play over 500 ball by pretty good margin there to end the year, win 70% of their games of their last 10. So, I'm hoping that can be the case, but schedule does not get easy. It's kind of how we've talked about. I mean, let me go through it here briefly before we wrap up. I talked Bills next week, Lions, which you're hoping is a gimme, but I can't say that anymore. No game's a gimme in the NFL. We saw what happened today with some other games, of course, like Panthers and Buccaneers as well. But Lions, they're 11. That's November 6th. Then the Cowboys, Titans, Eagles, Bears, Rams, Dolphins, Vikings, Lions. Those are your last 10 opponents. So, what do you make of those last 10? Do you think you can get 7-3 out of there? I mean, I see some tough games, but the easy part of the schedule, or what we thought was going to be easy, is kind of gone now. I mean, that 4-game stretch, we were like Patriots, Giants, Jets, Commanders. That's 4 wins. Nice. Not anymore. So back to the drawing board is what I like to say. And that's going to wrap it up here for episode 85. So going through it again, social media at Drew Sports Crew. Go find myself and, of course, the podcast on there. And it was great to talk all about the sports. Again, good luck to the EWC squads in the playoffs. Good luck, again, to the Milwaukee Bucks. Keep it up. Go 5-0, hopefully. And let's go Packers, right? Let's find a way here. Let's, hopefully let's survive against Buffalo. Let's get the job done. Let's get pull off the upset in Buffalo is how I'll wrap it up. And again, thank you here for all listening to another episode of Drew's Sports Crew, the perfect podcast for you. Thank you, everybody. Good evening or good night.